Hello, everyone, and welcome to the eFTI for All webinar about the business value and digital ecosystem. This is our second eFTI platform webinar. So this is this kind of open session. We have also this kind of internal webinars, couple of those, but now this is the second for externals also. So we expect that we have today good discussion also about the eFTI platforms, and we will go on the business side now of the eFTI. You can use the chat if you have any questions for us, and also you can raise your hand, and we have there in the end of the presentation, we have a time for Q&A session, so we can have a good discussion also there. My name is Lasse Nykänen. I come from eFTI Expert company, and I'm part of that original eFTI Expert team, and I will be moderating today this session for you. And we have very interesting set of presentations today coming. After my presentation, my introduction, we have Rugile. I don't even try to pronounce your surname. You can do that, Rugile, by yourself. But Rugile will bring us insights from the business drivers, how economic operators see the eFTI and what kind of opportunities there we have. Rugile comes from a Transport Innovation Association from Lithuania. Then we have one of the eFTI platform pioneers, so Sebastian Lalot will give you some insights how strategic value for the platform providers comes. And then we have very good technical expert, Dmitry Yankomevkov, explaining you how to build this eFTI system on the economic operator side, how to integrate your existing systems to the eFTI. And then Christian will explain us about certification, what is the state of the art at the moment and where we are. And this is very hot topic now in the whole eFTI implementation level, because Commission is now working very closely with that. And then Rudi will link the two worlds of eFTI and eCMR. This is some topic that has been discussed a lot. Rudi Hemmelers from 51 Beach will explain you how those things work together. And then, yes, in the end of the webinar, we have then the Q&A. But yes, you can use also the chat if you have any questions, and we try to answer for those. And after the webinar, we will collect all the Q&A topics. Next slide. So where we are at the moment and where we are heading now. So I will give you a very short introduction. If you want to see more about the eFTI regulation and about the eFTI architecture in general, we had that previous webinar 1 month ago. So you can see also the recording. We can maybe provide the link for you after the session. Next slide. So yes, eFTI comes from the word electronic trade transport information. It's new EU regulation that is coming in force 9th of July 2027, and we see, and most of us see, that it's an enabler. So eFTI is enabling new things. It is kind of one of those things that will enable this digitalization of logistics. It's not digitalizing the whole supply chain or the whole logistics, but it's one essential part to make eFTI digital, make logistics and supply chains digital in the future. eFTI is between economic operators and public sector. So how, for example, if police is stopping the truck, how you can then provide the freight information for the police in a digital format. So when eFTI comes, all the authorities, they need to accept then freight information in digital format. One more. eFTI is multimodal. So eFTI is in all transport modes, road, air, rail, and inland waterways. So eFTI will cover all, and that's why it's also very important, because eFTI is giving kind of Esperanto for all of those transport modes. eFTI is really, as I said, it's an enabler. So it's boosting this transition from paper to digital versions and from data to from documents to data. So eFTI is really on data-based solution, and it's built on top of data layer. Next slide. This is directly from the regulation. So eFTI established harmonized legal framework, how economic operators can communicate and share information for competent authorities. So these are, for example, roadside checks in the road transportation. eFTI is mandatory for member states. So I highlight now this. In the first phase, eFTI is not mandatory for economic operators, it's mandatory for public sector. So all the member states, they need to be ready 9th of July 2027 so that they have FT environment available and they are able to receive freight information in digital format. Of course, it needs to be on the format of FT. But for economic operators, it's voluntary based. But as said, it is a good enabler so that you can build and utilize data in a more efficient way. And today we will hear much more about this topic also. FT operates on data elements. So typically logistics has been built on top of documents. One document comes, then I sign that, and then the next phase of the process starts. But with FT, yes, it's now based on the data. And of course, from the data, you can make all kind of documents if you want, and you want to print those data elements out and make PDF, whatever document you want to do. But we are living on the data layer, and we are sharing data, not documents. And 9th of July is kind of deadline for us. Then all the member states should be ready in EU how with their FT gates and with the FT implementation processes. Next slide. And I said that FT is a new regulation, but actually it's just digitalizing what we already have. So it's built on top of these different regulations that are now listed on that left side of the screen. So there is a rate and conditions, there is a cabotage transportations, there is road rate, inland, dangerous good regulation. So it's digitalizing all that content that we have there. And that's why it's, like I said, kind of Esperanto for the logistics sector. So it's just digitalizing new processes, and actually FT is coming from the demand from the economic operators. So economic operators have said that, okay, we should have this kind of digital format, how we can report also for the competent authorities, so that they are not in a kind of bottleneck or gatekeeper if companies want to go on digital supply chains. So now, since 9th of July 2037, this should be possible thanks to the FT. Next slide. And then a couple of words about the FT kind of system itself. So FT is European-wide network. All those gates, which is kind of representing the authority side or public sector side here, all the gates are connected. One country typically has one FT gate, and then those gates are connected. So let's have an example that German gate is connected to France gate, and then France authorities can get access on the data, although it is, for example, a German truck that is operating there. So gates are building this EU-wide network. But then all the FT platforms, they need to be connected to the one gate, or there can be also connection to the other gates, but like always that needs to be certified. So platform needs to be certified, or if you are using FT via platform service provider, then also the service provider needs to be certified. And Christian will tell more about that today for us. And then how you build your FT system on the private sector side, we will hear from Dimitro much more about that. It can be connected on your ERP system. It can be connected on your TMS system. It can be connected on your ECMR platform, or it can be a combination of all of these. It can be also isolated own solution where you then import data on some format. But anyway, always you need to have certificate. So FT platform is the private side solution, which is connected on your own operative systems and from where you are getting the data. And then on the public side, we have FT Gate, which is working as a gateway between the private sector and competent authorities. We have data sets which are defined by the Commission. At the moment, that work is also ongoing and very hot topic. So then this data needs to be collected, gathered from the economic operator systems, put in the FT format, and then first we publish only registry of identifier data for FT gates. And then based on that registry of identifier data, then competent authorities can make request for the full data sets. So we don't push the full data set always. We just pull those registry of identifier information, and then afterwards competent authorities can ask when they have an inspection ongoing, they can ask then the full data set. And example about that uh, register identifier examples is, for example, register plate number, so that somehow competent authority can link that, okay, we are now making inspection for this truck, the register plate number is this, and then they request the full data set based on that. That's in a nutshell how FT works. And I highlight here that this is very in a nutshell. You can see that almost Mickey Mouse in the middle of the picture. So that is actually a little bit more complicated because it's the EU-wide network. You can hear about e-delivery, which is the solution, how the gates are communicating. That's technology built in and designed in EU. And it's very secure, and it's very also good solution for this gate-to-gate communication, and it's also mandatory between gate to platform. But you can have also other alternative interface solutions. So for example, REST API can be also used between the platform and the FT gate. But that is then to be decided by the member states, what kind of solutions they want to offer for their environment. Maybe this is now about this slide. Then let's go forward. Next slide. A little bit about the timeline. So as typically and as normally in EU regulation, it's not happening during 1 year. You can see that original FT kind of mother regulation came in force 2020 already. And since that, we have been working with the technical requirements, more functional requirements, all kind of topics. And all those are now under those delegated and implementing acts that has been published, and some of those are still coming during the rest end of this year. And we have own delegated and implementing acts for the FT platform side and own for FT gate side. So for public sector and for private, they have their own. But anyway, they are all coming from that main regulation which came 2020. And at this point, we are quite good situation already. So most of the regulation is available. One kind of big thing for the economic operators is the certification, and it should be ready during this rest of the year. But we are following that, and we will organize for sure something new when we have more information about that. But you will hear also very good insights about that today from Christian. Next slide. And just to summarize where we are now, so we know very well the authority system side, how the gate should be built, what kind of requirements, how to build the network between the gates. We also know the basic kind of like requirements for the FT platform side and kind of basic functionalities. And all that information is now published under FT Wiki, which is hosted by Commission. It's a Confluence-based wiki, which you all can access. We will share also the link for you. It's under Commission hosting. You need a password and user account, which is the EU user account and user password, but everybody can get that. So from there, you can find all the regulation and also these technical guidance documents. Technical guidance document 1 is more about FT gates, and then technical guidance document 2 is aimed for FT platform developers. There will be and there needs to be always in this kind of ICT system some updates, but the latest information was published in January 2026, so it's quite updated there. So please go and read that FT Wiki. There, that is kind of one place where you can find all the information that is available, and it's legal at the moment. Then what is now ongoing, as I said, the certification process, how to certificate FT platform, how to certificate FT platform service providers. That is now something that Commission is doing in collaboration with our 3 FT projects, FT for EU, FT for all, and then FT for live, where we have altogether 22 member states, and then several economic operators also participating on this FT implementation. Then also this implementing act and technical guidance document, that is of course something that is happening in parallel, but especially now this XSD, so the data model and data description semantics work. This is very hot topic, and just this week there was new version published for the comments for the member states. So it's now only on the member states, then they will work together with the Commission, and hopefully then soon we have also that in that format that also the economic operators can get access on that. But for that we don't know fully the last like schedule, but it's coming. So we can say that the seed is already put there, and now we are building this FT flower. So soon we have hopefully a nice bunch of different kind of FT flowers, FT gates and FT platforms around EU, and then actually we can utilize the power of FT and power of this harmonized data, which is then harmonized between also the all transport modes. Next slide. And thank you. This was very short introduction. I just highlight for you that if you want to go deeper, there was this our first FT platform webinar, and there we go much deeper on the architecture, much deeper on the regulation also. So please check that, and you will hear now from my colleagues also then more deeper about the technologies and also about the solutions. But this was a quick introduction, and now I give a floor for Rugile from Transport Innovation Association. Thank you, Rugile.
Thank you, Lasse, for the nice introduction. I am Rugile Andriukevičiūtė-Buzė, the CEO of Transport Innovation Association, which is based in Lithuania. And our association unites logistic operators, carriers, fast freight forwarders, as well as IT solution providers and builders. So eFTI is a cornerstone of and eFTI and digitalisation of all transport processes is at the cornerstone of our existence. And I can say with proud that all the logistics operators are currently seeing that investment into IT infrastructure and to data and automatic exchange of data elements is seen no longer as a cost, but as a very profitable or moderately profitable investment. So with that in mind, actually, we embrace eFTI. Because we believe it will be a great push together with the ECMR and other digitalization processes for basically all the European continent to switch to digital processes and transport operations as soon as possible. But maybe we can move to the next slide. So last couple of intro slides from my side too, although Lasse has correctly mentioned all that. So eFTI actually applies to multiple modes of transport. So road, rail, inland waterways, and air. Next slide. Next slide, please. So, and as actually Lasse mentioned, it is what is good about this directive. It does not introduce any new data or compliance or checking requirements other than what is already available and used in the world already for 40 years and so on. So eFTI really takes the data elements from already existing international protocols such as CMR for road transport, CIM for rail, bill of lading for maritime, inland maritime, airway bill, the already existing and already partially digitalized dangerous goods declarations, so ADR, RID, and others. I mean, it's even more advanced digital data sharing than when FTI foresees, and of course all the environmental and regulatory compliance data sets is already very much under development. So basically, it's a good thing that is no new extra burden for business, but rather they must exchange these data elements among each other and with a regulator. So from that perspective, it is no new regulation. But as Lasse mentioned, it is obligatory to control institutions competent authorities starting from July 9th, 2027, but it is foreseen voluntary for business. At least until the review period is now in the back corners of Commission. It's talked maybe it will take few years of a grace period to see how businesses are switching, but for sure at some point we will move to maybe making this obligatory for business to exchange data electronically as well. So next slide, please. Indeed, we see actually when we compare other sectors and other areas, economic areas, and in Lithuania that holds true as well. We see that finance sector is getting so increasingly digitalized and very well advanced. We see such big advancements of digitalization in medicine, in health sector. And the transport sector is, at least Lithuania is very strong, but used to be one of the least digitalized. And now we are witnessing the change. And EU transport sector needs a catalyzer to embrace digitalization. And in fact, that's why they designed FT regulation to not only push control institutions to go digital, because to push control institutions to go digital is very easy, but how to make this bigger shift for all the society, for every participant of every SME, every driver, every carrier, every sender, and every factory, and all the intermediaries to finally move digital. And the transport and logistics sector, and especially road transport, is less digitalized because of high representation of SMEs. It's we have when you think about it, we have such a list of intermediaries. Almost all the carriers are small and medium-sized companies, and their partners are usually small. So it's actually not about the behavior change of one player, but really the whole ecosystem, the whole orchestra. So that and I would, further on in this presentation, I would extremely like to talk, especially like to mention road transport and mention ECMR, and it will be later followed by other panelists too. But we operate with this belief that FT and ECMR can be an accelerator of digitalization of the transport sector, and an important factor of competitiveness and economic growth for the EU. And in my next slides, I would like to explain why. So next slide, please. Also, a short recap. So when we are talking about economic operators and business players, we are meaning this the first layer for the economic operators. So we are basically talking about we are mostly concerned as IT representatives and IT companies and carriers. We are mostly concerned about the FT platform part. And that's why it is very important that it gets finally approved, and the certification implementing acts really, we hope that it will operate in accordance to business needs and will be fairly easy to design, to operate, to integrate, and promote, and fairly easy to use. I will now not go into the detail how FT platform can look like, because it can look like many different ways. It can be as a tributary system. It can be FT platform on its own. It can be totally integrated in carriers, broader IT system. And indeed, when we discuss with European Commission, the main aim is that it must be super easy and super ready to integrate, and easy to use, and relatively inexpensive. And it's the only way how we can make all these tens of thousands of SMEs really choose to use FT platforms. So next slide, please. So, but taking a step back and talking more generally, it's really, if we make the switch to digital, quite a few benefits are expected for economic operators, such as transport companies. So first of all is, if you move digital, you reduce paperwork, you save time and cost, and you can really achieve long-term financial benefits. And I will make a case even clearer. If you actually go with all your transport operations digital, you really after short amount of time, and we made some studies about that, you start to see long-term return on investments and very good numbers showing how you immediately actually save on your operations and administrative costs and human resources. So that's a very clear point, which even doesn't need further explanation. Also, digital exchange of documents can reduce delays, optimize travel times, and simplify inspections by competent authorities. So, reducing delays, one point is very important. If let's say your partner can accept electronic CMR, if you're in road transport and your partner where you have to deliver can accept legally the electronic CMR, it saves you immediately. For some companies, it's a huge game saver because it immediately saves you the time and the effort needed to bring your partner the original version of CMRs. And sometimes it means that they can pay you much more faster what they owe you because you can send the eCMR through the FT platform or through the IT system, and your partner has no right to say, oh, I will wait 2 weeks or 1 month after I release the payment after you bring me the original version of CMR. So in fact, this case will be a game changer, especially for SMEs, which don't have very huge cash flows and cash capabilities, and which expect the payment from the partners as soon as possible. Also, reduction in time by simply the inspections. The inspection can become more streamlined. And moves to the third point, that compliance can be better ensured. It can be modeled to become more risk-based and so on. Yes, I see the question, but I see the question in the chat, but I will address that later. We are now having interviews in Lithuanian, so there is no such study as such available in English, but we have survey results available, which we'll be happy to share. So, of course, the fourth point is about lowering the ecological footprint and promoting sustainability, and it can also even improve your business. So next slide, please. So as I said in the very beginning, it won't just happen because eFTI. I mean, the digitalization is happening. It's a question no longer of if it will be or not in 10 or 20 years. No, it's the question of a few years' time. For sure, this sector is moving very fastly on digitalization, and eFTI and eCMR, as we see, Spain is the first country in Europe to adopt that electronic freight information document is obligatory for the deliveries in Spain. So I think it's a very good example, and other countries should follow. So it's becoming a reality. So, and eFTI will be the final push, but I would like to say why it's a natural step for business. So transport digitalization is already happening with or without eFTI. Already fleets rely on telematics systems. Already fleet owners are buying, developing. They cannot, if you have more than 10 trucks, you cannot really survive in this competent business world without TMS or ERP integration. You need the API and real-time data exchange, and companies indeed are doing that. eCMR and digital freight documents, I mean, it's already used for customs brokerage, for insurance purposes. It's integrated into your financials. It's already exchanging. As customs digitalization, EU has a separate plan on how to make all the customs fully digitalized and unified by 2030. So eCMR and eFTI directly drives to that. Driver and vehicle data platforms, AI-based planning and optimization tools and it's already happening very much. And the real value is really operational, not only regulatory. So in fact, if you go fully digital, you can expect less administrative workloads, lower risk of errors and penalties. We really see what happens when you put in writing all these CMRs and the manager has to transcribe it, and it's like so many sometimes errors and useless penalties and waste of money if you read something incorrectly. Even the most advanced OCRs still struggle to read the human written formats, but those who operate in the field really know it very well. So better data quality and traceability, easier integration with customers and partners, and stronger competitiveness in international logistics chains. So it is a natural step for business, and we believe that companies will do that. So next slide, please. And here it is a slide which I have to say I borrowed the slide from one of the eFTI platform and ECMR solution providers, and I think they are called Cargo Sign. They are a very good startup company in Lithuania, and I believe it is a very good example of if you can offer ECMR service to carry logistic companies. You can you immediately integrate FT, and this slide, and I will go quickly through it. It shows all the easiness and and all the business effectiveness, what you can reach if in fact you already integrate the use of it's a use case for road transport, so it only talks unfortunately doesn't touch the whole spectrum, not the rail and not the bill of lading, but for the road transport, which is mostly comprised of SMEs, it's a very good solution, and I believe that many companies could look at it as an example, and there will be big competition, I think, providing similar services. So really, I mean, having this ECMR on the road, it really it answers all your FT questions, and this just shows how easy it might get. So first of all, you have all your CMR data set available by QR code on the driver's tablet. And if customs or police can scan it instantly, you don't have to bring paper anymore. I mean, after July 2027. You can, one device and all signatures, all the sender, driver, and consignee can sign on the same tablet, and you don't need to worry about sending copies or printers. And yes, the most important plan, it's if you already invest into ECMR, it brings you automatic eFTI compliance. Of course, we're waiting for the certification procedures and so on, but the European Commission is really interested to make it user-friendly and as easy as possible. So ECMR data set is anyway FT compliant data set, so no additional action, even if for the programming purpose will be required. And legally valid, so the legally equivalent to paper CMR, the biometric signature is legally equivalent to paper CMR. You can have real-time visibility because dispatchers can monitor document status in real time. All partners are informed automatically. And of course, it's very easy to integrate for information sharing. So API connectivity with any customer, TMS, ERP system, and data flows automatically. So although this is example of one company in Lithuania, but I believe this is very good showcase how you can develop ECMR now and sell it to business and make it sound easy and available and applicable for transport companies. So, and next slide, please. And yes, as I mentioned, so with FT, there will be no need to add extra data or information beyond what's already today. And it's an important point that data accessible by eFTI, by competent authorities, are specifically those needed by enforcement controls. And sometimes the carrier companies, they ask, they might be afraid, especially of the financial data, of the value of goods. If any inspection, maybe they can see all my clients, all my money, all my goods that I'm bringing. But eFTI is designed in this way that no other details, contract parties, costs, or services will be accessed by enforcement bodies during their control. So, in fact, inspection will see less of your transactions, less of your transport operation details than they are seeing now when they exchange those paper CMRs, when they send the scanned copies back and forth. Because I did interview almost all the Lithuanian transport competent authorities, and the way they exchange all this CMRs and transport data is sometimes they send emails with all the attachments, and I mean, the data is handled currently when you have physical, maybe photocopies or email exchanges is really much less safe than logged through the system where you can see only data elements which you are allowed to see. And this next slide. So if your business, so adopt eFTI to replace paper documents with secure digital freight data, and cutting costs, reducing errors, and speeding up inspections across Europe. So that brings multiple benefits. And I think all the presentations afterwards will delve into much more detail how it is, in fact, looking from the IT architecture part. And so thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Rugile. And we will take those questions after all the presentations, but I saw already from the chat that yes, ECMR is not disappearing, as was already said, and Rudy will go much more deeper on that also. And then also I shared a link of this link tree. So from there, from the project side, there has been several deliverables done also where we have presented also those results from the studies. I think some of those studies were made by some universities, and then there was Open Logistics Foundation studies and all that. So there are several studies about those financial topics, and also from the Commission side you can find those. And yes, slides will be also shared, so you will get those. But now let's continue. So now we go deeper on the platform side, how the actual business value for the platform developer comes and platform service provider comes. So Sebastian, floor is yours.
Thank you, Lasse. Thank you, Rahil. So good afternoon. Wherever you're joining from, welcome. And thank you for being here. Maybe you can go to the first slide. Yeah, thank you. So today I'd like to take you through something we've been working on the last year, mainly Pioneer's FT platform as a service. So next moment, I'll try to make you understand who Pioneer is, why this FT opportunity matters, and most importantly, how we can work together to make these digital transport documents a reality in Europe, because the reality is still paper. So let's get started, and please, the next slide. So first of all, our approach is we want to collaborate. We want to work together on transport document solutions, basically. And best way to understand is what we are not. What we are not, basically. So we're not here to compete with the existing digital document solutions. Basically, we want to leverage our experience to enable those, to help build those e-document builders these FT capabilities, and that's by offering a product which is called the FT platform as a service, combined with our expertise. I will later show that we have already some document capabilities. So next slide, please. So what is our position in the FT ecosystem? So we're a platform provider. And in this ecosystem, we have parties building e-document solutions. it was already mentioned today, is the ECMR, but we also have some specific niche like the waste sector with the Annex 7, which was mandated digitally in May, also the 1B. And there are also technology consultants advising companies on how to make all these processes basically digital. And of course, we have also the economic operators. And we kind of sit underneath all of that. Because we want to build an infrastructure layer. So basically, we want to help economic operators tap into that FTF infrastructures, but also next to the economic operators, also the document builders, because they are making these document solutions itself. It's a product itself, and then we focus basically on the compliance layer of that. So that's why we don't see it anymore as competing products, because when FT comes, it will foster digitalization, and then specialization will be important. So you have document builders, and we are infrastructure builders, basically connecting all these document solutions to the relevant FT gates. So the next slide, please. So who are we now? Who is Pionera? Basically, we've been for more than 10 years a specialized partner for e-document solutions. So we have several document types in portfolio. Think of the ECMR, the Annex 7, the Annex 1B. Those are the international documents. And besides that, we have a broad range of national documents depending on local obligations. But yeah, so we're not newcomers to this. So we already, for offering that, we already offer kind of a platform where we connect shippers, carriers, and consignees to exchange documents. That's basically our track record. And now we're taking this a step further, basically by taking that operational knowledge and basically building an FT platform as a service, so that we in 2027, when the mandate kicks in, we also can facilitate our partners in building those FT capabilities. So next slide, please. So where is the opportunity? So we have July 2027. Then the regulation kicks in. This to create kind of an atmosphere of digitalization, because there's a common infrastructure across all the European member states. Why? Because they are mandated to accept electronic transport information when it comes to international transport. So this is a strong commercial opportunity for e-document builders. But of course, they build e-documents. Then you have the FT, which is often is complex, the regulation itself. Then you have the implementing acts, the delegating acts. It's all a very complex story. So you need to dig into it. Meaning you draw away resources from your basic product to building this FT code. And this is where we kind of offer our services with an FT platform, and of course with our experience in building platform. And that's exactly the gap we want to fill. Next slide, please. So who is this for? So first of all, we have the companies building and commercializing e-documents. For those, we can be an infrastructure layer. Then, of course, also for the bigger companies who try to build these FT capabilities themselves, and of course, their technology consultants advising them, so that we have like a more ready solution for building that FT compliance. So everyone basically who sees the FT as a necessity, but it's not like a core capability, and that's what's it about, I think. And it's required, but you draw away resources from the actual things you are doing, so it's not so optimal. And that's why we come in as kind of experts, where you can outsource that kind of complexity. So we dig into regulations, technical specifications. That's basically the service and the product we offer. Next slide. So what is the core challenge? I said it with the previous slides. The regulation is complex. The certification requirements pose some complexity. You need some time and resources to dig into all that. And of course, this translates into high development cost and of course also risk, because things like up until now, things are not, Regilo already said something about it, and I guess you also, Lasse, things are still evolving. So things are not, so you always need to track where the legislation is going and basically adapt your product to it. And that's where we come in basically. So it's still detailed and still evolving. So the certification requirements are rigorous. And for a company whose core value is an e-document product, the focus is on the user experience, the workflows, the customer relationships. And when you need to build FT capabilities, it draws away again resource for that. And it's basically diverting your best engineers from your actual product. Next slide, please. So our position is simple. You build e-document solutions, and we provide the infrastructure basically to tap into that international infrastructure that FT is offering. So that means we're like an invisible layer, so your end customers don't see us, but we have the compliance. And everything is about, of course, about the ecosystem collaboration. Next slide, please. So how does it work? Basically, it's a cloud-based service. It's modular, and everything data comes in through via REST API. So we focus on the document exchange, the audit trails, the signatures, everything basically that FT is requiring you to do so to be compliant. So we check out on the new legislations, we manage that basically and adapt the product whatever comes in the future. Regulation change can always happen. So basically, while you are integrated to us, we make sure that everything stays compliant. Next slide, please. So whether you're building eCMR solution or multimodal transport documents, or you're building an industry-specific workflow, we kind of offer the infrastructure to be compliant with this FT framework. So basically, we are a facilitator for all these digital workflows. So if you have a specific document or workflow you want to build, we are basically the layer that is enabling that. So next slide, please. So how I already revealed something in the 2 slides ago. So how does it work? You basically tap into your solution with your solution through the APIs. We act as a compliance layer. So that means what this means, basically how we work. So you, as an economic operator or as an e-document builder, tap into the solution. We make sure that the exchanges, when there is an exchange required with the FT gates, we make sure the relevant data gets there. Also that we get certified with the right gates. So we make sure, basically, we make everything ready from the required connections from you, and whenever there is an inspection, we make sure it comes with the right gates and of course with the competent authorities. That's basically what we do. And of course, if there are interoperability requirements, we can easily manage it, that if we have multiple platforms active. Next slide, please. So on the commercial slide, as basically our model is designed to fit your the way you work, basically. So we accommodate your workflows. We operate fully white label. So it's your brand, your customers, your relationship, and we stay basically in the background. So the pricing is flexible, whether you're setting up a pilot or you want to tap into multi-entity across different countries, it's all very scalable. So whatever the current maturity is, we have starting point that works. So you don't need to be fully ready to begin, basically. Next slide. So what is now the value for the partners? Of course, lower costs. Both, it's basically a make or buy decision. We are there to for the buy decision because you tap in basically an existing piece of software, so you don't need to develop that piece of software. You also don't need to maintain that. That's the offer that's on the table. And by having a piece of software that is already ready, it's a faster time to market. And of course, often when these regulation changes, there is pressure from clients. So basically, there also it allows you to retain customers which are very impatient about these regulation changes. And of course, we reduce the compliance risk by offering that as a service. Next slide, please. So what is making this FT going to work? It's collaboration. Logistics is all about collaboration because you're all tied to each other. And that's also the message we want to give here. We need to work together. So what's going on in this project is public parties, private parties, all collaborating on making the best solution possible. And it's also the same philosophy we want to extend it once we go live. We want to collaborate with the e-document builders too, so that they can tap into this infrastructure. So everything is based on trust and basically interoperability, because we need to make several systems collaborate with each other. Next slide, please. So what does the path forward look like? Start with a pilot. Try to integrate quickly. Check how the solution behaves. See how this compliance is working in practice, and from there on you can move quickly. You can scale up at the pace you want, but the goal is simple. It's 2027, 9th of July to be precise. That's a clear deadline to work to. So window is to move now, and we're basically ready to move along. Next slide. So I'll close with this line below. So it's you focus on building great e-document solutions. We make sure that they are FT compliant, connected, and scalable across Europe. If that resonates to you and then you need a partner in helping with that, I'd love to talk. So I would like to thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. We will take, Sebastian, questions after the presentations, but maybe you can check there is one actually dedicated for you also in the chat. It's about the storing of the data. In a nutshell, I can already say that yes, FT platform providers, they are storing the data, and then when the when the competent authorities are asking the data, then they will get the full data set, and then they need to delete also that. But yes, there are a couple questions for you in the chat, but now we continue, and we will come back also, Rob, for your question afterwards. That's also a very good question. But now we have Dimitro explaining how to build these systems on the economic operator side. Thank you, Dimitro.
Thank you, Lasse. Can you switch to the next slide, please? Oh, many thanks. I believe it is too small, but I will try to explain you the idea. So this presentation is a common presentation under two flags of the 51 bis and Abona, and we will start from the conceptual definition of this flow that you can see on the screen. This is the core eFTI process, and focus of this presentation to explain in very, very simple words how interfaces between different eFTI components with which eFTI platform should interact looks like, how they works, what are the eFTI messages, which messages are important and how they are built, and what is the most important, what is the focus of our work. is how these interfaces could be harmonized, how we can establish interchange of the data between economic operators and so-called tributary systems and eFTI platforms in the way that should not require a specific development for each integration. And in the end of the presentation, I will show you how that could physically look like in one of the implementation from the Abona. So on this slide, I hope you can see, at least you can imagine that you can see the four core interactions, four core swim line of the eFTI processes. And they are actually very simple. Top swim line is publishing of the shipment data from the economic operator to the eFTI platform and to the eFTI gate. So that is the registration of the eFTI the data set that is derived from the real operational data, like Sebastian has said, that is sourced from document system, ERP, TMS, and so on. Next, blue swim line, that is the search interaction. It starts from the authority from the right side, goes through authority access point to the requesting and responding eFTI gates. And that interaction in which eFTI platform does not take any part. Next, yellow interaction, that is the actual request for the data. This is through end-to-end interaction from the right to the left side and back. And last but not least, also interaction from the right to the left side. This is the follow-up communication between between competent authority and economic operator. So we have only general only four general flows. Lasse, could you switch to the next slide, please? I will try to show you one focus point in more scaled format. So that is simplified copy of the previous schema that is focused only on eFTI platform. As you can see, eFTI platform is in the middle of this schema, and eFTI platform interacts from the right side with the eFTI gate and from the left side with economic operator. This schema looks much more simple. And even if we consider that economic operator also could have different partners in real business operation, that is normal in real life, then the schema will not become too more complex. Next slide, please. So as you can see in that example, we have added some tributary system in the very left that interacts with economic operator system in the middle. And we added also driver that should send some driver event, for example, signature when goods are loaded on the truck or when goods are unloaded and delivered to the final customer. So in that interaction, we have from the left side pure business-to-business activity that is absolutely not in the scope of the eFTI, but that interaction is really produce the data that becomes eFTI data set. And from that point of view, that interaction becomes interesting for us because this eFTI data, they are not generated from the air. They are the result of real business activity. Next slide, please. And that allows us to explain three types of the messages that are considered in the scope of the eFTI. So if we go If we go from the right side to the left, messages that are exchanged between eFTI platform and the eFTI gate are so-called formal messages. That messages are defined in regulation. They have a strict schemas. They have legal requirements how they should be implemented, and they have one technical protocol that should be supported, with option also to implement them via alternative technical protocol. But that is only an option. So these messages are formal and very strict. In the middle, we have messages between economic operator and the eFTI platform. For example, that could be ERP system or document management system that sends, for example, ECMR or any other source document that should become eFTI dataset. That messages are also clearly described on the level of the functional requirements, but they could be implemented absolutely differently. And there is no legal technical requirements that limits options how they should be implemented. From that point of view, they are called informal. And on the very left, where is the business-to-business interaction, these messages are not defined at all, but we clearly understand that these messages are source for generating the data for the eFTI dataset. So this is so-called extensions that are out of the scope of the eFTI, but they are very important for eFTI to make it interesting for the business to help eFTI really play the role of the enabler that was already shown by the previous reporter. Next slide, please. That is one of the examples from this big schema that was on the first slide, and that was unfortunately maybe too small for review. That is the follow-up communication that begins from the right side and goes through all the eFTI components to the very left to the economic operator. And as you can see, some messages here are informal with green arrows. Message in the middle between two gates is formal, and very left message between economic operators are so-called extensions. But the main idea of the slide to show that all these messages that goes from the very right to the very left functionally are absolutely the same, because function of this message to deliver follow-up communication from the authority to the economic operator. They goes between different eFTI components. They can even differ in some data elements, but all these messages are based on the same class and utilizes the same schema. And that is very important. That means that actually that is just post offices in the middle between competent authority officer and the economic operator that should route this message to make it delivered. So there is no actual differences between formal, informal, and extensions. The difference is only in legal requirements to these messages. So these messages could be implemented in a different way. If there is any sense, for example, if there is already some infrastructure on the government level and such messages are already implemented somehow, then there is no sense to change them. But in many cases, if such infrastructure is not exist now, all the messages in one chain could be implemented absolutely similarly without need to change it. And what is more interesting probably for this meeting, on the left side, on the business to business interaction, we have absolutely the same situation. If platform should send specific message to the gate, then platform can use similar interface to interact also with the business side. Once again, that is not put it in the legal requirements. So this is not the requirements, this is a recommendation. But this recommendation, I hope, could be feasible, and I will try to convince you in that. Next slide, please. So this schema shows a very simple example how interaction between two economic operator systems that are connected to two eFTI platforms could happen. Let's imagine that we have a consignor and carrier that has own IT solution that could be ERP system, warehouse management system, TMS, document management system, it doesn't matter. Traditional interaction in the present day is peer-to-peer interaction between these two systems to be able to exchange data. So when this data is exchanged, for example, we need to send a signature from the carrier to the consignor, or we need to send transport order from the consignor to the carrier. When this information is ready to become eFTI dataset, for example, that is the event when the goods are loaded and we have two signatures, consignor and the carrier. Then one of the party publish this data on the eFTI platform, and eFTI platform can register this data on the eFTI gate as eFTI dataset. This is a normal flow that I can show you how it acts actually now without any changes. That is already implemented. It works very well. But if we follow the approach that we have discussed on the previous slide, that all the messages within this eFTI chain are built on the basis of the same classes, then this exchange between two ERP system or two economic operator system could be moved a little bit to the right between two eFTI platforms. And that would allow us to use a common interface and common message structure to exchange business-to-business related data via eFTI extensions. Why we need this? Very simple, because each integration between two economic operator systems requires some specific work, requires some money, requires some time. And if we go to one harmonized interface that is proposed by the eFTI, then this integration just could be more simple and more effective. So that is one of the possible idea how eFTI could help business to exchange data to make it really interoperable, how eFTI can play the role of the enabler for such such business flow, for example, like eCMR, or also for intermodal interaction. Next slide, please. And that is that schema. I want you to look carefully because I put it here for provoking a discussion because there are different ideas put it into one schema. As you can see, we have three errors between economic operator system. One error is yellow, and it goes from a red economic operator system to the green via two eFTI platforms, like we have discussed it now. But these two eFTI platforms are connected to the one eFTI gate. So that is more about discovery. Gates that are blue on this screen are connected to the specific eFTI gates network and exchange data between each other. But gates are very limited on the data that they could accept and exchange because they are regulated by the eFTI legislation. So this yellow arrow allows us to utilize business-to-business exchange via eFTI platforms without any need to change existing eFTI legislation. Orange arrow that goes through two eFTI gates to help red economic operator system to reach purple one requires such changes on the eFTI legislation level because gates are prohibited from operating with the data that is not in the legislation, but that is the option to make this automatic discovery and routing of the data between economic operator systems that are not connected to each other and do not know about existing each other. And last but not least, this dashed error between purple and the red eFTI platforms without gates is very much based on the federated network of the access points that was successfully developed as a project in Europe and allows platforms to interact and exchange business-related data without moving this function to the eFTI gates. So I kindly invite you to review this schema and consider this option from a business perspective, how that could be implemented from your point of view. And now I want to show you one practical example of the actual eFTI platform that is already implemented and that is already integrated with the economic operator systems, with different economic operators, and that can show how this data can flow. Next slide, please. No, sorry. On the next slide. That is, no, one slide back. I also want to stop on that. Can you return, please, one slide? Yeah, thank you. No. One forward. Yes, thank you. Sorry for that. So that is the architectural view on the platform, and as you can see, platform is pink on the schema. From the very right, we have a small blue part of the eFTI gate, and we have another pink rectangle from the left that is a tributary system. And in the lower part of this diagram, we have two yellow blocks that describes two economic operators system. So these interfaces with different messages defined here shows the architecture view of the platform from the point of view of the external services that should be implemented by each eFTI platform. So each eFTI platform should have two interfaces. One interface looks to the gate. As we have discussed, it implements formal messages. And as you can see, only 6 services should be implemented there. And one interface looks to the economic operator side, down in that case. Only 2 services there. It's very simple. It's only accept messages from the accept messages with the data set from the economic operator side and deliver their follow-up communication. But the same interface with the same 6 messages could be used to connect 2 platforms between each other to be able to share economic operator data between eFTI platforms. So that is the visual presentation of this architectural view. How this interaction between 2 economic operator could be implemented via eFTI platforms. Next slide, please. And here you can see example of the eFTI platform that is implemented by the Abona. Abona is proposing ERP solution that works for many carriers and many transport service provider in Europe. It also proposes transport management system, warehouse management system, accounting, and a big amount of other IT solutions. But now we're focusing on the interaction between Abona eCMR platform and Abona eFTI platform. This is two different solutions, but they are now linked together, and they can be even accessible through one common web interface. So when the transport order for some shipment is created and eCMR is issued on the side of the carrier or consignor, it doesn't matter. This information is in the same time linked to draft version of the eFTI dataset on the platform side. Next slide, please. And when the shipment is started, driver received the specific information on its application and can perform a signature directly in the field using its mobile device, and can receive in the same way signature from the consignor or consignee to confirm that goods are loaded or goods are delivered. For the first stage, we need to receive signature from the consignor, and when two signatures are received, the dataset, eFTI dataset, is transferred to the gate and becomes state active. Next slide, please. Yes, that one. So as you can see, this is the eFTI platform presentation of the eFTI dataset. This is the same data that was in the eCMR, but they are transferred in a different format. They are presenting now in the form of the eFTI dataset. And as you can see, green label in the middle with the active text. That means that this data set is already published on the eFTI gate. It was successfully published and confirmation is received. And this data set is available for discovery for competent authority and is available for digital control. Next slide, please. And that is very simple illustration how this data set looks like from the competent authority side. This is not the real authority. This is a test bed that is provided by our colleagues from the DLK for the testing purpose. Abona has a real operational connection to the German gates developed by the Toll Collect. We have also completed successful tests together with OneUp and EU Gate application. Result of this slide, as you can see, the same data that was produced on the ERP side and transferred from the ERP to the eCMR platform, from the transport order to the transport document, and then from the eCMR platform to the eFTI platform, now is available as a common eFTI dataset. We have a different services, different blocks of software, and this software is also could be available to use for customers as a software. So Abona is a software development company, so it sells software as a software, and also it could be available as a service. You can consider this for your application if you are interested in cooperation in that area, both for eCMR and for eFTI. And of course, I invite you to focus on the topics of this eFTI extensions, because basic idea that I'm trying to explain to you that this integration between economic operator system and eFTI could be done in very easy, simple, and harmonized way. Thank you. I hope I have inspired you with this idea, and if you have any questions, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Dimitro. And you can see that there was actually a couple of questions coming in the chat. So if you could answer for those also, and we will take those. But now there was also the question about the certification. So now, Christian, you can have a now good overview where we are with the certification. Christian, you are on mute if you...
We can't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, good afternoon. I hope you can cope with a little bit more information. Therefore, yeah, also certification is a topic that is not so easy. Therefore, I would like to give you a slight introduction, what the current status is, and how the certification is prepared on EU level. My name is Christian Lübkes. I'm part of the FT expert team in all three FT projects, and I'm also supporting the Federal Ministry of Transport in Germany. Yeah, let's start right away with the first slide. Thank you. So why certification and what is the legal basis? So the legal basis starts with Regulation 2020 1056, the so-called FT regulation. There in Article 9 and 10 is mentioned that a platform needs a compliance certificate. It's also said that there will be a delegated act on certification, which is currently under preparation by the Commission. According to the Article 12 and 13 of the FT regulation. And there it is stated that the national accreditation bodies in the EU member state need to accredit conformity assessment bodies, the so-called certifiers. Yeah. The certification bodies are hired then by FT platforms, which would like to operate or offer FT platform services. And they need a compliance certificate. And it is worth to mention that this is a legal precondition. So there is no FT platform without a certificate that is necessary for you to understood. Every FT platform that will be officially connected to an FT gate in Europe needs a certification. The current body who is dealing with this certification and is writing the proper specification and also the methodology for the certification, which is needed by the accreditation bodies, is the EDANOS working group. EDANOS is I will have that abbreviation on the next slide. I'm always struggling with it. That was a bit too fast, if you can go back. This is a group that is dealing with it, and the certifier is the accredited conformity assessment body. And what you need to know is what I said, certification is a legal prerequisite. So now we can switch to the next slide. So, and there is the abbreviation for EDANOS. So it's the FT Delegated Acts and Network of Operational Support. You can always struggle with that long word. And this is a DTLF subgroup, which consists of 3 working groups. The first one is the information requirements and enforcement practices. The second one is the one which we are dealing with today, the certification. And then we have a third working group, the technical and operational support. So there are technical things discussed, like XSDs and message exchange and how that works, for example. So The working group through has a mandate, and the mandate is to develop the certification rules for FT platforms and service providers. So in order to help preparing the 2 delegated acts, one for FT platforms and one for service providers. And the participants are representatives proposed by member states, means non-civil servants or public employees, and that act or have been invited as ad hoc experts. The main responsible contact person there is a national contact point for FT. So if you are, as a platform provider, are interested to work within this group, please contact your national contact point if you want to serve there as an expert for certification. It prevents also that the rules for certification are made by member states only. The member states can only have educated guesses what the economic operators are expecting with regard to certification, that it is not complicated, that it is cheap, not too expensive, and so on. But it would be interesting to have economic operators nominated as experts in that group in order to be sure that the rules that are discussed there are really suitable to the whole FT platform requirements set, and the also the derived tests on that. Yeah, there is also a iterative work mode agreed. So the Commission drafts the methodology per criterion. So criterions have been defined. I will come to that. Then the experts review that mostly in a short period, and the Commission aligns this then in the working group session, and then the next criterion starts. So next slide. The next slide is more about the certification criteria. Initially, there were 9 criteria. You find these criteria if you have a look into the FT regulation in Article 9. You find a list of requirements, main requirements, overall requirements that need to be tackled. And you find these requirements consolidated in this list here. Yeah, this is dealing with GDPR, whereby it has been, or it has turned out, that the GDPR will not be tested exclusively or within the FT certification. The Commission has agreed that the GDPR can be taken out. Of course, it is still mandatory being GDPR compliant, but if you implement FT in the way the Commission has written in the regulation and also in supporting guidelines, then it is ensured that GDPR will be followed. Then you have 8 more requirements, and these are discussed in this working group, or has been discussed in the working group 2. And for each requirement, it has been identified which profile is related to this requirement. For example, we have 6 profiles, means basic road. If you are just providing a FT platform for road transport, you just need to follow the profile basic road. Then you have basic rail, inland waterways, navigation, dangerous goods, and waste shipment. And all of these criterions are related to these profiles, and you do not, for example, cover some of these requirements if you follow just a specific profile. Yeah, so that means that your certification is also set up according to these profiles. Next slide. So how does the certification work in this group? So in this group, we discussed a common understanding of each requirement. So the criterions have been listed, and then we discuss in the group, okay, what is the purpose? What is the legal basis? What is the expected scope? And so on. And that's so that we have one shared view on these criterions. Then we identified what would be the best assessment approach per requirement. And we there discussed how a conformity assessment body can best validate each requirement, including supporting mechanisms. Yeah. And then what is the validation approach? What means the validation? What are the pass and fail criteria? So that has been discussed and has been put in a large table, a very large table. And then we also identified the evidence types that could be provided per requirement. It could be a kind of TCT report. TCT means technical conformity testing, an automated test that can a platform apply and perform while connecting to a testing system, and then a report will be created for the certifier. So some of the functionalities that an FT platform need to provide can be tested automatically. Very easy, and which will reduce the effort by the conformity assessment body and therefore also reduce costs. Some of the requirements need maybe a kind of architecture statement where you need to describe how is your platform set up. Then a documentary evidence where you describe procedures, implementation evidence where you show maybe a screenshot of your logs that are required. Operational evidence, how your system works live, audit logs, traceable records that you can show, and control self-assessment, things that you can make it where you have a consolidated form and where you can make a tick in the box. So the key principle is that we reuse existing certifications. Some of these requirements maybe are based on existing requirements that FT platforms or providers already have, like ISO 27001, IDAS, GDPR, and so on, that can be reduced. So there is no double certification requested where there is an overlap. What we are currently discussing is to reduce also this set of evidence types to come up with an approach that these evidence can be brought very easy. Yeah, so that we maybe cover more by TCT reports and cover more by self-assessment, so that we keep the price low for this certification. Next slide. I told you about this large methodology table that we are currently, or that we have discussed in the past, and now the Commission is transforming this table criterion by criterion into documents, so-called FISHs. I would say these are more fact sheets. Of course, very long fact sheets. But with these fact sheets, we describe the scope of the criterion, what the legal basis is, and the which includes the items from the working table. Then very transparent, a mapping of requirements. So we identify the requirements there and the legal reference and the verification scope. Then a mapping of the evidence. So which evidence belongs to which requirement? For example, the TCT report, architecture statement, and so on. And this is also mapped with test cases so that you have a clear overview which requirements lead to which evidence, which kind of test. This is then also shown in a kind of matrix with test cases and requirements. And at the end of each document, so that would mean 8 documents, 1 for each requirement, where we have a full overview and a full description how specific requirements are tested. We have the first one for the criterion 2, the second criterion that was shown in the list, the competent authority access. This is currently discussed. The first review has been done. It has been discussed in the last working group 2 meeting. And the Commission will now continue with the further criterion. So what are the next steps? These are on the next slide. So the Commission has now provided a SharePoint for the experts so that directly in the documents that the Commission drafted, the comments can be put in. So this is a real life work stream, parallel work stream. So as I said, we are working currently on the criterion 2 document. We will have bi-weekly sessions, and in between we work on the proper document that the Commission is providing us. For example, the next criterion. Within these 2 weeks, we are working on that, and in parallel, the Commission is working step by step on the draft delegated act and on the methodology documents that need for all criteria. So this is a lot of work that the Commission is performing, and also the member states and experts that are contributing to that. But it is quite important to have a very transparent certification process at the end. So what is the message for you? The message is on the next slide. So what can you already do? If you have a pilot, FT pilot, you need to review the implementing regulation 2025-2243 anyway. This is the FT platform delegated act. And there are also the core criteria and the requirements. You need that in order to understand what you need to implement. Then you need to map your architecture against these 8 criteria. And you can already check what kind of certification do you have in your company. Maybe you have already an ISO 27001 certification, which you can reuse. You can also prepare your evidence package. That means you can start documenting. I saw that already from some pilots that during the implementation, they have a confluence in parallel where they have their functionalities implemented, and they are describing the functionalities, and which can be then later reused as a documentation. And I would recommend, if you are creating an FT platform, developing an FT platform, do the documentation in parallel already. That prevents you from a lot of work later on. So plan your technical conformity testing, the FTGate connectivity. So take care, if you are implementing a platform, that you are already testing with test environments that are offered by the FT projects or with your national FT that is in place that will help you to prepare for the certification. And document your audit logs and access control mechanism. And what is also important, watch timeline. The delegated act adoption initially said by Lasse, this will come around end of the year, and so that you can start already as early as possible with reading that delegated act and prepare for the certification. So, and if you want to start by July 2027, you need to have then a certified platform. That means once the delegated act is out, you can search for contacts for certification bodies and have a look on that. So this is all what I can tell you today, very condensed, very quickly. I hope that was not too fast. I tried also to keep the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. And yeah, as Christian said, this work is now ongoing and it's actually very urgent. So it's now every day teams are now working with the certification. If you have some questions more, please put those in the chat. We can try to answer for those. But it's still on the table of the commission also. And then final presentation before we have a short Q&A session is about ECMR and FT, how those fit together. And then our special expert, Rudi Hemmelers, please give us your presentation.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone. I'm very happy that I can take a couple of minutes with you on a subject which is very, very important at this moment, 13 months before going live with eFTI. And that's the question, how ECMR and eFTI fit nicely together. Let's go through the slides. Okay, not too much about 51 bis. We already had Dimitro explaining what we are doing. But what is a key there today is that with the background of logistics, background of single windows, customs integrations, we have been working in the last couple of years in several consortiums. We are part of the coordination team. And right now, we are heading to a new priority, because we see that together with eFTI for Life Consortium, together with UNCFACT, we are initiating an update of the ECMR project, because we think it's quite important to make sure that the tool can be used by economic operators without creating some doubt, do I really need to do one or the other thing? In the next slide, I'll take, okay, it's a slide that we used before, but it is one that becoming more important every day. We see that, yes, the economic operators, the shipper, the road transport, the airport, or the port handling agent, the carriers, they continue to have, of course, separate internal systems or systems that they are buying as a cloud service. And these systems, they have, of course, different states of implementations, sometimes legally, some legacy, sometimes at the edge. But what they have in common today is that there is a consensus within the transport and logistics environment that data are structured and data are shared through APIs, through interfaces between each other and with government authorities. Next. If we look at where does the discussion fit today, then of course we see that the road service provider often the last one in the supply chain with the delivery of the goods to the consignee. In today's evolving technology environment, we see that the ECMR, of course, allows data to be shared in the horizontal layers between the shipper, between the carriers. So the ECMR is one of the missing pieces to have an end-to-end supply chain? Well, the eFTI regulation, of course, enables the carrier or the shipper, because the two can do that, to share data with government, with competent authorities. Two major things which are happening. The eFTI regulation becomes mandatory for authorities as from next year. But also another thing is happening, that we see that the eFTI ecosystem is pushing a data sharing environment which is getting more and more standardized, so that the same interfaces can be used for multiple purposes. Let's go the next slide. Yeah. Yeah, we see that eFTI for Life is introducing a number of additional services, but okay, that's not important right now. Yeah. Okay, that slide is getting, of course, now of a very important part, because we see that the ECMR and the eFTI, both are data sets. eFTI is, of course, a real data structure. ECMR is still a document approach for a regulation, but we see a conversion of the data in such a way that the same data can be used by different actors in the supply chain. Different actors, shipper, road services, more and more requiring precise information for AI tools, but on the right side, of course, multiple authorities that are working together in such a way that all parties have access to the latest information. And from the logistics parties' perspective, data only needs to be stored once. Okay. Yeah. We see also the pilot projects. In the pilot projects that Dimitro has showed one, also Pionera is doing that, of course, on a day-to-day basis. They extract some of the data of the transport management system, the warehouse management system, the ERP systems. They structure this data in consignment movement data, in shipment information, which is updated through events. And then we notice that we have an eFTI platform architecture that allows these data to be shared with the authorities which are involved in eFTI. But the approach that we are really seeing today, core of eFTI for Life also, is that we are going to use the same access points, so the eFTI platforms, to share data for other purposes. So that's what we call then the extensions. This is what we do right now. We are looking how we can do that in practice, because there are a couple of things that we need to take into account right now. Next slide. Yeah. The consignment note, I replaced ECMR by consignment notes, because the ECMR is, of course, related to a convention. They are getting more and more important because they are used for multiple purposes. They are used for the handover of the goods. They are the agreement between the sender and the transport service provider. They are the basis for invoicing. They demonstrate compliance of the transport. This is, of course, eFTI, but they are also used, of course, for customs and other border regulations. So the consignment note information is of key importance for the business-to-business exchange and for the business-to-authority eFTI data sharing environment. Okay. Yeah, it is important at this moment. This slide is one of the important slides this afternoon. The CMR is a convention, and the CMR has a focus on the contract for the international carriage of goods for remunerated transport. It's between countries, and there are today 58 countries. Yeah, I say too easily 58 countries who are CMR contracting partners. And what is here relevant is that from the perspective of the carriers, we have two big objectives, CMR and then later on eCMR. Yeah? They want to harmonize the procedures and the documents, but what is the most important in the discussion is that the CMR and then also the eCMR, they are used between the economic parties to limit the liabilities of the carriers. So next slide. Yeah, the eCMR is an additional protocol. This is important. It's an additional protocol which is based on the eCMR convention. And the eCMR provides right now the conditions that are necessary so that the information which is shared between the economic operators in the eCMR process between themselves, yeah, the eCMR is defining these conditions so that the digital information is regarded at the same equivalent as the paper version, and it has the same evidentiary values of in case of court disputes. That's essential. Right, yeah, next slide. Yeah. In reality here, we see that eCMR and eFTI are sometimes confused between each other, but this is not really the case. eCMR is, of course, transport contract document. It has that value. eFTI is a regulatory access framework. eCMR is a focus on logistics processes, eFTI on authority inspections. eCMR, we indicated B2B, eFTI business to authorities. eCMR has a focus on the digital consignment node, while eFTI has a focus on regulatory data sets. eCMR still has its roots as a document-centric process, while eFTI is data-centric process, focus on transport execution, focus on compliance inspection. But the last block that's important here. Why? Because it is like that if we look at the processes, the processes as from July 2027, it's still like that in the case of an international transport of goods by road, which is remunerated, the CMR is mandatory. CMR is mandatory for international transport of goods between two countries that have adopted the 1956 convention. So for those who want to use the digital documents in the future, it is important then that they use the eCMR, and that can only be done in the case of transport between two countries that have adopted the eCMR protocol. eFTI, of course, we see that member states must be able to accept transport information by July 2027, but I'd like to put your attention on that last. So in the case of transport operator by road wanting to use digital documents for international cross-border transport, they must then use the eCMR, but also in that case, they must then also use an eFTI certified platform if they want to share data with authorities. So let's go to the last couple of slides. We, of course, have a huge opportunity because both the structures of this data set of eCMR and eFTI, they are based on the same underlying UNC factor by ship pay data model, reference data model. So in a way that most of the data which are used for eFTI today are already used for eCMR in case of road transport, because eFTI is of course also applicable for other modes of transport, inland navigation, rail, and even air cargo. Yeah, but they have the same basis. Let's take the next slide. What the reason why we have this focus on eCMR today is that UNECE has, and that's an organization which is maintaining the CMR and ECMR regulation, has presented, has published a number of specifications to which the future ECMR applications must comply to. You will see that these are a number of specifications, including, for example, about 80, 90 processes, which define precisely how the ECMR additional protocol can be compliant to the applications using ECMR. ECMR applications can be compliant to the CMR and ECMR underlying regulatory environment. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is what is now happening. We are working together between the eFTI for Life consortium, but of course in close collaboration with the two others, yeah, and with the UNCFACT organization in Geneva to update the ECMR and to also align the ECMR data sets with the eFTI environment. Three big priorities. The first one is we define the applications requirement to be compliant with ECMR. You will also see that IRU is making important announcements right now. Second thing is we see how ECMR environments, eFTI platforms can communicate with each other. So that's how they share events with each other. The third part of what we are doing is, of course, we make sure that ECMR and eFTI, they are aligned with each other. In practice, it's the ambition that the data elements of required for eFTI will also be. So two projects where we have a collaboration, where we will have a lot of communications, is we have the UNCFACT ECMR update, and in eFTI for Life, we have then the collaboration between the eFTI environment and between the UNCFACT environment. Yeah. To conclude, yeah. So eFTI is, of course, about the basic trust environment, which is implemented through gates and through certified platforms in such a way that an eFTI platform only needs one connection with one gate to be able to share data with all the other authorities which are competent to access data. In the next slide. Well, then on the extension side, we are looking how to use the eFTI platforms, how to extend the eFTI platforms with additional API. So with the extensions are additional API environment in such a way that the platforms can communicate with each other. We see an acceleration toward data sharing in an environment, federated data sharing environment. We introduced that already in one of the previous consortium, and also with other extensions in such a way that, for instance, e-invoicing platforms can be integrated. So in summary, three things, yeah. We are we work together with the different actors in such a way, and you see that in the middle of this last slide, that the ECMR and the eFTI platforms, they converge to each other. So the eFTI platforms are used to share data, of course, with on the right side, with eFTI gates and authority officers, but also we make sure that we are ready in such a way that the same data can be used to be shared with other environments, with e-invoicing, with customs, with ECMR, with other ECMR platforms. And then a little bit more on the left side, we also see that the data sets themselves, we try to structure data sets so that it can be used for both ECMR and eFTI environment. Lasse, I'm going to stop here if I can.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for all the presenters, and we have tried to answer now also in your questions in a chat, but do we have any last questions for the panelists who were presenting today? And you can always send those questions also for us via email, of course. You can find from that FT for EU, FT for all, FT for live email addresses, and you can always contact us. But do we have any last questions from somebody? We have tried to answer most of the questions that you have in a chat, and I hope that we have answered most of them at least. What event will be reported on the integral? Rudy, do you wanna, or do you have a direct answer for the Rob's question? Can you see that?
I need to switch to what events will be reported. Yeah, Rob, the question is by Rob, what events will be reported on the integration between ECMR and eFTI platforms? There are two events which are, of course, the two most important events that relate to eFTI. This first event is when the goods are handed over between, in most of the cases, the consignor or the previous carrier to the carrier, because of course that's the timestamp, that's the time that need to be also reported in the eFTI in the consignment movement data set. The same thing is when the goods are delivered to the final to the consignee or to the next carrier. So these two events are the most important one. In the case of waste movements, we have a couple of other events, like for instance, border crossing, or for instance, when the goods are processed by the one who is at the end of the chain, then reworking the waste. Yeah. Of course, in the ECMR environment, we have way more events which are happening. I'm going to take an example. In the case of an ECMR, we have a case whereby, for instance, during the transport, the consignee can be changed. So the place of delivery or the place of the consignee can be changing, can be changed during the transport. Yeah. What happens with accidents or other disruption on the road? Perfect question. Also, these events are the ones which are right now reported, considered in the ECMR. They are part of the 8090 events. Yeah. It is prescribed what should be done, and now we are going to see exactly in the UNC factor specifications how we are going to do that from a data and integration perspective. But in most of the cases, we are going to use standardized structured events to communicate between the different parties of the ECMR.
Thank you. And then we have a question from Alexander. You can unmute yourself and have a question. Can you find the unmute or?
We don't hear.
I can maybe do that. No, I can't. Alexander, can you unmute yourself? You should be able to now to unmute yourself. On the left bottom corner, you should find audio where you need to push unmute. In the meanwhile, we are shortly now coming to the end of this webinar. So if Andrea, you could share the next slide also. So yes, we will have also FT annual conference coming. And this is open event. It will be organized in October, end of October in Paris. It will be hybrid. So there is possibility to participate physically, but also remotely. And there you have also an opportunity to meet all the FT projects. They will be present there. They will show their results. We have also external speakers. We have panel. We have a wonderful set of presentations and discussions, I hope there. We had last year same kind of event in Berlin, and I think it was very fruitful meeting. There was good discussions on the business side, but also together with the authorities. So that's one place where you can meet also physically if these remote meetings are done. Seems that Alexander is not able to unmute, but can you put your question in a chat maybe? Or we have time for one more last question. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, then thank you for participating. I hope that this inspired you some new ideas. And this was kind of snapshot again. So inside the projects, we are dealing with these topics daily level. It's all about FT for us in a bad and good. But yes, if you are interested, please contact us. We can have one-to-one meetings, or we can give you more insights via the project events also. And yes, this annual conference that I was highlighting here, it's one big event which will be now in our calendars in autumn. So that's a place where you can meet all the FT project teams and all the FT experts who are working with this topic on the private side or on the public sector. Thank you. This was now our second webinar, and all the materials for you as a participants will be shared tomorrow. And then we will also make some additional information and more this kind of general summary about the webinar, but that comes a little bit afterwards. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Let's close the line.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Good
Bye.
afternoon.